Hey everybody, it's Lead Crayon, and I have been gone for a long time. But I am back, and I am now going to do the much awaited phase 1 of my Bayliner Capri refurbishing. It's been over 2 years since I did the first video on this, and I have recently decided that I'm going to try and start doing something about this boat. So, what I have done is actually just created a gigantic mess, and I'm going to show you that mess. But in creating the mess, I have learned some valuable things, and hopefully those valuable things will help anyone else who decides they want to ever tackle this kind of project again. The first thing I wanted to deal with was the rotted seats and the rotted floor. So that's where I actually got in the boat and I pulled the seats out and pulled the carpet up, so now you can see what I'm going to be dealing with. But basically I'm going to try and outline things you should look for when you go to start refurbishing your Bayliner Capri. I'm going to switch camera angles and come back around the other side so I can show you the mess I've created and the things you need to be looking at when you decide you need to do this. Alright, so here we are looking at the boat. So let's start with the disaster. First of all, here is the carpet. And you can see that basically what this is outdoor, like patio carpeting. So that's what I'm going to replace it with. I have kept the basic shape, as much of it as I possibly can, intact, so I can cut the necessary pieces. Here is more of it here, but you can see it's all rotted, and this on the back is actually part of the flooring, which we'll get to that in a second. More of the carpeting. So let's come around here. Let's get my lawnmower project for the moment. Okay, these are the seats, and you can see what kind of shape they're in. Terrible. But looking at the underneath, you can see how they are made. As long as you keep all the wood parts intact, these should be easily recreatable. There's a metal hinge, you want to keep that. And these, which actually slide into rails that are cut into the seat boxes inside. You'll definitely want to keep these as well. Make sure you get all your dimensions, and then you should be able to recreate these. When I do them, I'm not going to worry about all this lumbar crap here. Just some flat foam on some wood ought to do it. So now, look inside the boat, and you can see I've got the carpet all torn up. So that's the rotted part. Let's see if I can get a little closer there. What the floor seems to be is plywood, probably 3/4 inch, that is then covered in a thin layer of fiberglass to kind of give you the impression that the interior of the hull is fiberglass, but it is quite plainly not. And if you look in the grooves there, you can see the plywood. Now, this section in the back here is pretty solid, so I'm going to have to replace this middle section. And I'm thinking 1 to 2 sheets of plywood, probably some good 3/4 inch, marine grade, or even not. But either way, I'll replace it, cut this stuff out, and put in another piece or two. I need to go all the way up into the front, all the way up here between into the bow. That's all rotted. But I'm just going to cut and replace, and then probably cover with treatment of some kind, maybe urethane or something like that, just to keep water from getting back in and ruining it again. So if you think the interior of your boat is fiberglass, it is not. The exterior definitely is, but all of this is just wood with a thin veneer of fiberglass on top of it. So another interesting thing I've learned is how all these seat cushions, like this one here, are actually mounted. Since you can't see any mounting on the front, I was curious, and since I'm going to replace them anyway, I decided to just tear one off to figure out how they work. So this might be useful information. So this one is one I tore off, and it's mounted by two screws that are here, but what they are is they're T-bolts. There were holes drilled from the front of the plywood here and here, and then a T-nut or a T-bolt pounded through. Then they put the upholstery on, and then they are mounted through these holes, which, and of course I just tore this out the back of the rotted plywood, but you can see where it was mounted here. And of course there's space underneath all of this, so you can get a socket wrench on these from the back once they're there. So that's how you would remove it. And if you go around the interior of the boat, all of the side panels are assembled the same way. If you reach up underneath there, you'll be able to get to bolts or nuts, loosen them all up the whole way across, and that piece will come right off. And that's the way all of these body panels on the inside are mounted. So that's a useful thing to know. One thing I am not sure of yet is how the seat pedestals are mounted to the floor. But luckily, that part of the floor is solid, so I don't actually have to remove them. I just have to build myself some new seats. Probably cut with a Sawzall the parts of the floor that need to be replaced, and then lay in new plywood, lay some outdoor carpeting on top of it, glue it down, cut it to fit the shape of the floor. That should be good to go. Replace those seats, and should have a fairly decent boat interior. So that is going to be what phase 2 is. Cutting out the floor, replacing the floor, laying down new carpet, and then I'll do phase 3, which will be building or replacing seats. Now, seats are very expensive if you get them pre-made, so I'm probably just going to build them based on a template made from the seats that I removed. And that will really be all that this boat needs to get in the water again. However, I do still have to replace that, because that ball is all dried out and I'm worried it's going to spring a leak at any moment. And the tilt motor is a little weak, so I might wind up having to replace the tilt motor as well. And those will be, I don't know, phases 4 and 5, or maybe a combined phase if I get around to that. So once I do all of that, it will be a complete project. So that's where we are now. Boat's kind of stripped down, ready to have its floor replaced and its seats replaced. And after that, phase 2 will be replacing the seats, and after that probably just a little bit more work, and then we'll drop it in the water and see what happens. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully I get back on track here, like, soon. We'll see you soon all. Bye.